read the oath. You can just stand here once Kara joins us here. Put you right on the spot, Kara.
Sorry about that.
If everybody could stand up, please. I'm going to read the oath together. So if you guys don't mind, just raise your right hand. I state your name.
Kara
Okay. Do solemnly swear that I will uphold the office of member, Milton Township Community Mental Health Board, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member, Milton Township Mental Health Board, to the best of my ability. So help me God. This is wonderful. We've just affirmed you guys, so we're very excited. You just took the oath. We'll have papers signed after. But at this point, I would like you now to just take your seats at the table. Appoint the president of Pro Tem. Do I have a motion? Motion. Second. We need to appoint someone, so can I have someone make that motion? Who would like to be appointed to the Pro Tem?
I would.
Shannon Hartnett will be your Pro Tem, and we will go ahead and call this meeting to order.
You have a voice vote on that motion in a second.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Love that.
All in favor?
All in favor, say.
Aye.
Any
Any opposed?
All right. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'll give the floor to Shannon.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so item 5, we're on public comment. Is there any public comment? And I believe, is it 3 minutes?
If you would like 3 minutes per person, is there
Okay.
anyone who would like to make public comment?
No public comment?
Usually.
No public comment? Usually, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Bullshit.
Okay, no public comment, so we're moving on to item 6, election of officers. So we need, we're going to open up nominations from the floor.
For the office of
For the
president first?
Office of President first. So are there any nominations from the floor?
I'd like to nominate Shannon Hartnett.
Okay, Shannon Hartnett.
Second.
Second.
You can do it by voice vote if you'd like, if there are no other nominations from the floor.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, we'll do a voice vote. So for the office of President, Shannon Hartnett, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Shannon Hartnett, myself, is now the president. Okay. And so I will also, moving on to item B, open nominations from the floor for the office of secretary. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Carol Murphy.
Karen Murphy? 1 second?
Second.
Second, Drew Ellis. Any other nominations? Okay, there's no other nominations. Let's do a voice vote. All those in favor of Karen Murphy for the office of secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Kara, you're now officially the secretary. All right, item 7, resolution to adopt bylaws. So I believe everybody should have a copy of the board bylaws in their packet. So we need a motion to adopt the bylaws.
Motion to adopt bylaws.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion about the bylaws?
I just have one comment.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps, council, do we need to include anything about virtual meetings in case that may arise? Just the unpredictability of the future, or can we proceed?
Under the open, if I might, President?
Yes.
Under the Open Meetings Act, if you want to do that, you have to do it by resolution, and I can have one prepared for you for your next meeting. Now that we're out of COVID, the COVID allowances that the Open Meetings Act provided for are gone. So under the former Open Meetings Act, prior to COVID, you could be absent from a meeting if you had an illness in the family or your own illness, but it was a little bit more strict. So I can present that to you so you can see, but it's not like the old days. And in here, the problem would be you have to have the ability for everyone to be able to hear the member calling in from a remote location, and all the members of the public would have to. So we'd have to talk to the township about a meeting room where that could occur, but I'm sure that could be facilitated.
Okay. Is there any other discussion about the bylaws?
I have one point of order that I'm wondering if we can talk about just to sensitize folks to it, and it has to do with item 2.1.1 membership and also 5.3 membership of committees. I'm sensitive to the fact that the folks that sit on this board in many cases sit on other boards, and the language as it reads says that no member of the board may be a full-time or part-time employee of the Illinois Department of Human Services and the various divisions within the department, or a board member, employee, or individual receiving compensation from any facility, service, or organization operating under contract to the board. To clarify, is the issue whether or not they are receiving compensation or whether or not they are a board member?
Receiving compensation.
Okay. I appreciate that clarification, because it's certainly possible that some of us may sit on boards of organizations that might at some point seek funding, and decisions about how we might recuse ourselves from that so as to not have any impropriety should be discussed, but I wanted to make sure that the article referenced the compensation and not the board membership itself. That was my only point of discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion on the bylaws? If not, we need a motion to adopt the bylaws.
I think you've got a motion to adopt the bylaws. It'd just be on this a roll call. And I gave you a resolution, I think it's resolution 2101, it should be in front of you. And it's just a resolution that would formally adopt the bylaws. So if a roll call could be called on that.
Okay, so we need a roll call to adopt the bylaws.
And if you'd like, we can just go around the room and that'll, until everybody knows, unless you know everybody's name, that a roll could be called if everybody
Well, I can
just
just
wants
go
to
around.
say. Yeah.
You say
Dr.
yea?
No,
Yes.
I'm doing a roll
Oh,
call
I'm sorry.
vote. Sorry, that's okay. Dr. Shannon.
Yes.
Christine Evans. Yes. Karen Murphy.
Yes.
Drew Ellis.
Yes.
Stephanie Lynn Elliswood.
Yes.
Jay Kwon.
Yes.
Okay. So we have officially adopted the bylaws. Moving on to item 8, a resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2021-2022 meeting schedule. I believe this is resolution 2102. And we will, so do we need to set these meeting dates now and then approve it?
You know, you can, the statute says you have to adopt a meeting schedule for, you have to at least meet once per quarter. If you're not ready to do that now, it can be something to talk about at your next meeting. But I thought it might be best just to give you this as an outline so you could say, what time are you all comfortable with meeting? And, you know, if you want to pick the second or whatever night in any month in that quarter, then at least you'll have a couple of meetings ahead of you that you know about.
Okay.
But it's up to you if you want to do it tonight.
And we have the option, should we need to do so, of meeting with greater frequency than quarterly, but we must at minimum meet quarterly. So what we're adopting is the minimum with it's then having flexibility to determine what needs to occur.
So, I mean, I'm comfortable either selecting dates, you know, in October, January, April, and July. If we want to make it, I think we're supposed to stay away from the second week of the month, Tuesdays. Is there any other, sort of to make it easy, is there any other, like the third Tuesday, are Tuesdays good?
I can't do the first Tuesday.
Not the first Tuesday. Okay.
Probably.
Second Tuesday.
And we can't do the second Tuesday, so it's going to either be the third or the fourth Tuesday.
How about the third
The
Tuesday?
third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday.
That works.
Tuesday works for me.
Third Tuesday works for everybody?
That's fine.
Okay. So the third Tuesday of the month in October.
I think the fourth Tuesday is what's been.
Would the fourth Tuesday also work for folks?
That works for me.
Sure.
Okay, so the fourth Tuesday.
Fourth Tuesday.
Okay, so we'll meet on the fourth Tuesday of the month as a full board, October, January, April, and July. And then committees, if we.
If you want to pick a time.
What time? Yeah, 6:30?
I think 6:30 might.
6:30.
And this will start in August or will it start in September?
This is just for your quarterly meeting,
Just for the
so
quarterly meeting.
October.
October is going to be the, okay.
Yes. We may need to meet more frequently, at least to start out, but we can figure that out. Do we need to figure that out during this discussion, or we can figure that out after?
We can figure it out at any time.
Okay, okay. So for now, the quarterly meetings of the full board are going to be at 6:30 PM on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Okay, and then we need, we have a resolution to adopt that schedule. It's Resolution 2102. And I'll do a roll call vote.
Was there a motion in a second? I'm sorry. I didn't-
Do I have
I'd
a
like to
motion?
make a motion to adopt that schedule of the fourth Tuesday of every month at 6:30, at frequency of no less than April, July, October, and January.
Second?
Okay, let's second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Dr. Shannon?
Yes.
Christine Evans? Kara Murphy?
Yes.
Drew Ellis?
Yes.
Stephanie Lennar Smith?
Yes.
Jake Klein?
Yes.
The resolution passes. Okay, so we have a meeting schedule. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and preparation of 1- and 3-year plans. This is a requirement of the Mental Health Act, correct? That we need to do 1- and 3-year plans. So I think it's just a matter of discussing how we want to do that and maybe a kind of a rough timeline for right now. I believe we have to have a budget, a proposed budget to the township by October. So I think it would probably be good if at least we had a good draft of a 1-year plan also to accompany that proposed budget.
We have to have the budget submitted to the township in October or December.
It would probably be October,
October.
because December we will be
So we'll need to come up with, you know, the actual numbers, right? So the budget, present that to the township. And then what I'm suggesting is that we at least have a really good draft of, or pretty much a final draft of at least the 1-year plan, and then we can maybe fill in with the 3-year plan after that, because that might be a little bit longer. I don't think it's a super heavy lift. I've seen other plans from other townships, and I mean, you can make it as simple or complex as you want. We just need to figure out who's gonna kind of lead that effort, and then a timeline if we want to have it done by the time. What in October, early October, mid-October, late October? How much time do we
I
have?
I would love to give these, you know, when your recommendation comes in, you know, I'd like to get the board as soon as possible.
Okay.
So they can run it
Okay.
and then come to meetings.
Okay. Okay.
That would mean prior to the October township board meeting.
By November, but.
We could present it at the October township.
Okay.
So I have at least a week.
Gotcha.
Has everyone on the board seen any sample copies of 1-year and 3-year plans? That context might be helpful. I think we can probably put together something to show examples. We're
Yeah.
certainly not governed by them,
Right.
but it would probably offer, having seen a few, a little bit of relief, because
Yeah.
when I think of a plan, I think of something that has a lot of pages attached to it, and it is not a requirement that it be long. That it needs to be congruent with what we're intending to do. So maybe we can share something by email after the meeting that gives people a little bit of context.
The plan will tie back to the budget.
The intention is that the plan would be in alignment, if I understand it correctly, with the budget, but not that it has all of the specificity that a budget would be.
Right. Okay. Okay. But that means just that creates a pressure to get the budget done, so you can pull bits and pieces of the budget and into the plan.
The versions that I've seen do not have any numbers explicitly
Oh,
in the
okay.
1-year plan, but I do think that starting to talk about how those pieces go together will be necessary, and you're right, I mean, it's July, so we are going to have some work to do between now and October to make that work.
Gotcha.
I think at least the 1-year plan is just going to really outline in more specificity our priorities. And then once, grant applications start coming in, asking for that money, making sure that those fit in with what our priorities are. And then the other piece, I guess, of a plan is a needs assessment, which again could be as simple or complex as you want it to be. There's a lot of data that's already out there. I don't think we need to completely reinvent the wheel. I do think it would be helpful to hear from constituents or consumers as well as providers to inform that needs assessment, because I think that's really going to help link to the priorities. Again, like I said, there's a lot of existing data sources from the health department and so on that we can use in that needs assessment, but I would really love to hear from consumers and providers. I mean, I don't know if anybody has thoughts on that, but again, that comes with having to figure out how to do that. Surveys, focus groups, how much of that do we want to put into this 1-year plan versus do we want to put that into a 3-year plan? We just have to figure out how much meat we want.
And again, I would say I don't think that we need the results of that effort to write the 1-year plan. We need to sort of put our flag in the sand that says that this is a part of what we're doing in year 1, not that it's completed when we draft that plan. Sort of the action steps that we intend to take in that first year.
Has any government agency already passed the 3-year mark?
Yes.
And can we use them as a template or collaborate with them on what's been successful?
There's 90,
Oh, 90, okay.
90 in the state.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's plenty of examples. I think it's just a matter of kind of going through those examples, because some I've seen I like better than others. And so I would just put forth the ones that I would think like I would want this group to kind of stand behind.
Is there one that you think is kind of the best model that you've seen, or they all very similar? Or?
No, they're not similar. I mean, Hanover Park is a really good one. It's not lengthy, but it's robust enough. Oak Park, for sure. So I think there's plenty of examples. I don't want to get bogged down in looking at every single one, but if we can just pick out the kind of the cream of the crop and then use those as a template, I think we'd be in good shape.
When do you think we'll start accepting grant applications? What would be the timeline on that? Or was that something to discuss?
Yeah, I think it's something to discuss. I don't know, June? I mean, I guess I like to work backwards, so I think it would be helpful for us to kind of know that timeline, like when actually are we going to be awarding grants? And if it's June, what do we have to do prior to that? So I think we need to get clarification on exactly what the timing is.
But then we're gonna build or create protocols and requirements for the grants.
Correct.
That'll fall into the different buckets.
Correct.
That are then tied back to the needs assessment.
Correct. Yes. Yes. So I guess what I'm suggesting is, I mean, I would be happy to start pulling together some 1 and 3 year plans that I've come across. You know, I'm certainly, if anyone else wants to volunteer to do that too, you know, you're welcome to do that, and then maybe we can pass them all to Kara.
Would this be the work of an ad hoc committee that we would create to sort of review those documents, or is this something that would just be the work of the board?
You can do it either way. It may be something that the full board, I don't know how many you're going to look at, but it might be something that the whole board would want to discuss, just to synthesize them down into one document.
Yeah, I think it's at minimum that final step of sort of review and adoption would definitely be work of the group, but there might be some pre-work that would have a little bit of it.
So you're gonna pull a bunch of them and you'll circulate them to the different board members. So.
Yeah, and I think we could use them as examples for not only like the format, but then also some content, and we could adapt that content to fit Milton Township. I think we start there, like that's the immediate, and then we obviously need to fill it with our own content. So, so I guess that's really the next thing that we need to figure out is, okay, once we kind of, you know, figure out amongst ourselves what format we like, maybe some general content that we could pull from some other ones with some minor adjustments. How do we want to customize it, and what information do we want to include, which is going to be obviously the priorities for year 1.
And then each year in October, a new one-year plan, or simply a ratification of the same if it continues to be inaccurate. You know, I would assume that there is not, that you're not drafting from scratch each time, but rather looking for places where change or amendment is appropriate.
So I guess going back to my thoughts about speaking with consumers and providers, I mean, maybe that is something that we could assemble like an ad hoc committee. I don't know. I mean, there were probably a lot of people that applied to be on the board or that are interested in what's going on the board, and maybe those are some of the people that we could tap into. We could, you know, sample some, you know, providers in the area, and also maybe have them link us to some of their consumers or clients, so we can kind of get all of those perspectives to inform our plan. What do people think about kind of expanding that particular piece to like an ad hoc committee? Or do we feel like that's something that we want to do kind of internally? At least the 1-year plan, and maybe the 3-year plan we could branch out a little bit, but I don't know, what everybody's thoughts.
I mean, I don't think we have a huge group, so maybe at this point we don't even need a committee per se. I mean, if we had 16 people, you know, maybe it would be, but I mean, we're not a big group, so maybe initially, I think a lot of us are in the learning stages too, including myself, so it might not hurt to actually be involved in everything. It might initially, maybe it'll bog us down a little bit initially, just because there's a learning curve for everybody, but I think that might help us in the future going forward, to kind of just be involved as a group.
Well, once we have some samples and we kind of have a framework of what it's going to look like, then I think we can talk about how to kind of do the needs assessment and how that'll tie back to that framework.
Okay.
So I think once we have the framework of it, then we would, I think it'll give a clearer piece of, do we need the headline, the committee or not? So I think maybe that's a discussion for the next meeting.
Okay.
if that's what, okay with everybody else.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it might be a thing where once initially we might all be involved, but naturally there are people with certain talents and certain interests that may naturally just kind of distill into a committee. So, I mean, at least that's my thought initially.
But it becomes more onerous. It makes sense to bring more people
Yeah.
in. And again, we're not quite sure until we kind of go through this framework what the needs assessment's going to be and how involved and complex that's going to be.
Okay.
And I think the more people we get involved further down the line will give the community an opportunity to take ownership of what we're doing. Because there has been some pushback on what we're doing, so we really need the community to take ownership. And we need to find ways of doing that.
As the work of the board increases, the bylaws allow for individuals who are not members of the board to participate in some activities. And there may be places where either because of the expertise of members of the community or because of bandwidth, that's something that we want to consider. I don't think it's something we have to make a decision about tonight. It's just to keep in mind that we have some options there. I think it will also, in context of recognizing that there's a lot of really good work to be done, it will probably compel us as a group to also think about the speed with which we identify supports for this board administratively, because of all of the work that happens outside of a board meeting, that we need to be able to ensure that all of these pieces proceed smoothly.
Mary, can I ask, do the 1 and the 3-year plans need to be submitted at the same time?
No, the statutory obligation is to do a 1-year and a 3-year plan. And
Okay.
I think, I'm not sure how other groups have done it, but your obligation is to do both. We have a reigning expert on the topic of 1 and 3-year plans with us this evening.
I was not an expert. I don't think it's specified in the statute.
It is not, so I don't know how other townships have done it, but Kara's correct that every plan you adopt annually, you do have to assess, and you might want to modify or tweak, or maybe you find that it worked perfectly. So if you want to focus on your 1-year plan, that's a good starting point.
I don't think I reviewed as many of the sample or draft plans as Shannon has, and look forward to reviewing more. But it also seemed to me that there was a lot of complementary overlap between the 1 and the 3, meaning that the 3 elaborates perhaps on the components that are included in the 1. So they're not entirely dissimilar documents. They sort of flow together. Or the versions I saw.
Okay, so is the thought that we as a 7-member board here will work together on the 1-year plan? I can agree to kind of assemble some examples if anyone else wants to do that as well and take a look at some, and then maybe we'll pass them to you, and then Kara will disseminate those.
Oh, happily, sure.
Okay, and then I think maybe, because I think our 1-year plan is going to look very different than, not very different, but somewhat different than our 3-year plan, because the 1-year plan is going to have a little bit more nuts and bolts in terms of how we want to roll this out.
Especially in an inaugural year.
Right.
Some of the work that you have to do in year 1 doesn't look like
Yeah,
the work
it's
you'll
going to
do
be
in year
less sort of, I guess, community service oriented and more kind of nuts and bolts, like how we're going to actually do this. So that's why I think it would be good if we all kind of create that 1-year plan, and then maybe consider sort of expanding and utilizing some of the folks that are in the community to help us do a 3-year plan. Because I think we'll have a little bit more time. I don't want to have to try to rush and get all this data by October, I think. But I think for a 3-year plan, I think a 1-year plan is very doable by then. So So I think the next step would be to assemble some examples, distribute those, agree on sort of, or at least come to some consensus on a format, and then figure out kind of what content we can pull from those templates and then what we want to customize. And we can probably do that at our next meeting. Should we make that the topic of one of the topics of the next meeting?
And if you don't have to wait until October, if you think you'd be ready for that, you can set a meeting tonight
Okay.
for that purpose.
Okay.
However long, you know,
Okay.
if you think you could do that in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks or a month. then-
Okay, okay.
Because if we can get that distilled and sent out to the different board members, I think that's a good topic for them, and we can probably do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can disseminate the examples within the next, I would say, week. And then probably, I would say, again, maybe a week or two after that.
Do you want to do the fourth Thursday of August?
Or Tuesday?
Fourth Tuesday?
I'm sorry, Tuesday, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would work.
That'd be August 24th.
Mhm.
I'll be out of town in August quite a bit. That week I'll be in Atlanta, so I'm doing a wedding. So,
Quorum is 4.
yeah. So I
Pick
could meet
another.
on August 24th. I could not meet August 24th.
The 31st?
August is kind of bad for me. So I'll be out of town from the 24th to the end of August. I'll be back in September.
There's Labor Day.
I mean, that's
Labor Day's
a
the
weekend.
6th.
Do you want to try the 17th?
17th can be better.
August?
Although I'll be on vacation, but I come back. I go to September.
We're talking August or September?
Talking
August 17th?
Yeah, I'll be on vacation, but I come for that meeting.
Okay.
That works for me.
August 17th?
I'm good with
Yeah,
that.
I think that would be good. It would give us a little momentum.
Yeah. It-
Not out of town on vacation.
No.
Okay, so we'll meet August 17th at 6:30. And the primary point of discussion will be this one-year plan.
Okay. And you're going to give us some samples to look
Some
at?
samples, you'll get the samples of that within the next week.
How about just meeting at the board meeting on August 17th?
We meet on a Wednesday? The 18th?
18th?
I'll be on vacation, so it doesn't matter. I come back.
Works for me.
18th is fine, okay.
I can,
So Wednesday, August 18th? Okay, so Wednesday, August 18th at 6:30 PM. We will discuss the one-year plan. I will get some samples out to Kara, and she'll disseminate those to everybody. Take a look at those and see what you think.
6:30?
In the meantime, once we get those, we can certainly make notes,
Mhm.
send them back, and maybe those could be distilled.
Just don't reply all, because
Right.
if you want to make comments, and if Kara's going to be your point person on this, just reply to Kara, because otherwise, now that you're appointed, you do have to follow the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah.
Right.
but
And
if
they get
people re-
confusing.
Yeah,
But if people all reply to me, then I can distill all of those comments into something.
Right.
that
yeah, that'd be great,
That's really good.
that'd be great. Okay,
And by then, we will also have township email addresses, so we'll actually be able to work within that. And I say township, it may or may not be a township email address, but we'll have
a designated
novel
email address.
email
right,
address
right.
that is used for this.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. All right, item 10, adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. Meeting adjourned.